July 13th, he does appear. Now, this is something that's interesting. August 3rd, defendant entered a plea of not guilty. Defense counsel is pending communication with the state as to a recommendation. Now, again, this goes through where they are just saying that, the defendant has a history of assault on a public servant and failure to ID. Okay, first of all, those were the charges placed against him. There has been no trial to assert that they are fact, but the court reporter is already making notes that delegitimize and invalidate his identity and make it appear as though these charges are true, even though they have not been adjudicated in a court of law. I see this as a very subtle way by which the court reporter is making this guy look bad, which makes it more difficult for him to get justice. If it was, in fact, a conspiracy against him, as I believe it was because of what I went through in Travis County. Now, you keep looking at all of this, and this guy is sticking it out. He was arrested April 2nd, and this additional felony charge thrown in on April 3rd. And he's sticking to it. He's saying, where is another one? The attorney announced that they were awaiting result. Let me see. This is one something that I read. The defendant refused to leave his jail cell, and therefore he could not get the plea paperwork signed. The defendant was still uncooperative leaving the jail cell to discuss the plea paperwork. Apparently the defendant doesn't want to discuss plea paperwork. And now something happens on October 21st. 21st, the first thing, the plea is canceled. The guy doesn't want to plea. But all of a sudden, all of this other junk starts coming through. Discovery, compliance, written admonition, all on the 21st. And case called via Zoom, and the defendant appeared via Zoom in custody in the courtroom, in person. Okay, that makes no sense. So apparently the defendant also appeared via Zoom in custody in the courtroom in person. Okay, something's going on here. And the court accepted the plea of 4 years. Now, all of this stuff goes through. My belief is that whatever happened here on October 21st, when he says, no, I'm not doing this plea junk, the sheriff's office might very well have said, it's been 6 weeks and 6 months that we've had this guy in custody. We want him out. Maybe they took him out of his individual jail cell and stuck him in holding overnight, and something happened that just made him say, I gotta get out of here. I don't know, but I know how I have been conspired against. And I know what's happened to other folks, so it's not a stretch to believe that something happened between the 21st and the 22nd to suddenly break this guy after 6 months and 2 weeks of saying, I'm not going to even talk about a plea. And this public defender of his should have been filing a writ of habeas corpus to at least get him his freedom until there is an official court date. But this guy only wants to get plea paperwork signed. That tells me this public defender, let me see if I can have his name on here, Eloy I. Hernandez, really is doing favors for the Hidalgo County Sheriff's Department. I find this very upsetting. This is something else that really pisses me off. Finally, they pushed this stuff through on October 21st, 4 years of probation, and they say it down here. Yeah, release the defendant from custody October 21st. But then you look on the original paper, they don't let him out until October 29th. Did they need to keep him in custody a few extra days to let bruises heal? I don't know. All I know is that law enforcement in the Rio Grande Valley cannot be trusted. This is Hidalgo County, but this is some suspicious stuff. I don't know what's going on. So, another case that came up. There's one young guy, he was arrested at 17 years old in September, possession of marijuana. He was then arrested in November 10th again for possession of marijuana. Now, this was a young guy, and I thought to myself, okay, his second time being arrested, his parents might very well be keeping him in long-term custody to teach him a lesson. I am looking him up on the county website every morning, the 11th, the 10th, the 12th, the 13th, the 14th. Suddenly on the 15th, his second booking totally disappears, as if he was never even taken into custody. Now, this I found to be disconcerting, because he had a court date scheduled, and the address that they listed, that they sent his arraignment to, does not exist. I looked it up on the Hidalgo County Appraisal District website, and this address only exists, I think, in Donna, Texas, and in Edinburgh. And if this address did exist in this part of McAllen, the zip code would be 78501, not 78504. And so my belief is that the sheriff's office, in concert with the Hidalgo County clerk's office, decided to send out the arraignment to follow all the steps, but send it to a wrong address. And then they're going to get to tell him, you missed your court date. That means a judgment nisi is granted, which means there's a warrant out for his arrest. This was scheduled for December 13th. He misses it because he never gets it, because it was returned because the address doesn't exist. And so apparently the jail gets in touch with him and says, well, you missed your court date. There's a warrant out for your arrest. Now remember, something happened to him for them to completely remove the fact that he was in custody. Because if you look at his record now, the original court date was the 13th, which he missed. So they call him into the jail court case on December 18th. And look at what happens. The second booking appears, and it was as if he was in custody for the entire time. Curious, because there's this other document that is a capias for re-arrest. It's just so much fun, so much fun. And I'm sorry I don't edit, but I don't have the patience. So I like this a lot because it says that, okay, friggin' reading glasses. All right. This sheriff's thing, November 25th, 2019, blah, blah, blah. I'm guessing that's when he picked up this piece of paper. And it was executed on December 4th of 2019 by taking into custody the within-named defendant, conveying and placing in Edinburgh jail. Now that tells me that on December 4th, if he was taken into custody, then there should be another booking that says he was booked on December 4th. But it shows that he was in custody the whole time. So if he was in custody the whole time, why did he need to be taken back into custody on December 4th by J. Contreras, number 3833? What's going on? And so, this guy's 17 years old. This court stuff gets taken care of December 18th. I think something happened for them to completely erase his booking, send his arraignment to a wrong address, so that they could then get him to come back to the jail for his court case. And then when they get him to come back to the jail for his court case, they put him back on the books as if he was in custody the entire time. The next day, he's arrested by the McAllen Independent School District for theft between $2,500 and $30,000, a felony. I swear to you on a stack of holy books that it was the McAllen ISD police that took him in. The case is now being prosecuted more than a year later. Now they're saying that the McAllen police took him into custody and that it was theft of a firearm. Now, the reason this case has been pushed for his third arrest is because he was arrested for a fourth time, I believe in November or December of last year, for reckless driving and evading arrest. Now, what pisses me off is that the arrests, the first and second arrests for the possession of marijuana, the second of one went sideways when they deleted his presence in the county jail and then put it back. Both had 6 months of probation. So from December 18th through 6 months, that should have been June of 2020 that the case would have been closed out. Now, even with COVID, there should have been notes made saying rescheduled, rescheduled, rescheduled. But they didn't. And so my guess is that Hidalgo County kind of freaked out saying, man, we've got these cases out in the open. We got to start closing them down now and settling them. And so when he's arrested for the fourth time for evading arrest and reckless driving, they start pushing this third arrest, December 19th, after the second one had been done, completed, when they send the arraignment to the wrong address to get him to come to county jail because of the threat of him being arrested, because the judgment nisi has been granted because he didn't show up, because he never got the arraignment, because it went to the wrong address. So I just see McAllen police conspiring against this person, and it is especially disconcerting that the charges for that third arrest go from the McAllen Independent School District with theft from $2,500 to $30,000 to now being prosecuted as if it was an arrest by the McAllen police for theft of a firearm. Something's changing in here and something's going on, and this guy already had his first court date yesterday or the day before. I don't know how that went, but you watch out with South Texas law enforcement because they cannot be trusted. And there's that fake address. I wonder what other cases they've used that fake address for, just to cover up what exactly has gone on when something goes sideways. So, that's what that guy has been through, and God, I hope he makes it. 17 years old, now 18. By now, he might even be 19. 4 arrests. Something happened that was unjust to make him cover it up, and now they're pulling him through the system again. A different arresting agency, different charges. This guy needs a prayer. Now, moving on to another friend who was arrested. My friend was just about to start her shift at the La Jolla smoke shop when a cop pulled her over, smelled weed, searched her, found a cartridge, took her under arrest. While she was under arrest, he also took her hemp cigarettes. She told me about this, and so I got a letter describing this and also citing a federal case from 2018 against Special Agent Casper with the FBI, and I quoted out of this case where if a member of law enforcement breaks the law while someone's in custody, it becomes a federal case. I took this letter, my friend proofread it, agreed to send it out. It went to the Hidalgo County District Attorney's Office. It went to the Texas Rangers, and it went to our McAllen field office down here. Here's what's interesting. When you are arrested for marijuana down here, even if it is a penalty group 2 controlled substance, which is a state jail felony for less than 1 gram, the Hidalgo County District Attorney prosecutes it as a Class B misdemeanor of possession of less than 2 ounces of marijuana, which is awesome for young folks not to get hit with a felony on their record. Most of my friends who have gone through this, getting arrested for marijuana is going to be 6 months probation if you go with a public defender. If you go with a private attorney, go out $1,000 for him, he can get that down to 3 months. My friend who had had her property stolen and had the district attorney informed of it, had the Texas Rangers informed of it, and had the FBI McAllen field office informed of it, was told that if she just pled guilty, she was going to get 2 months of probation. And if they called her to have a drug test done, she needed only call her public defender and she'd take care of it. So as I see it, in Hidalgo County, when you are arrested and charged with possession of marijuana, the public defender gets you 6 months probation, a private attorney gets you 3 months probation, and if you write a letter asserting that you have had your property stolen by law enforcement, then you only get 2 months of probation, and your public defender will call you, or your public defender will accept your call, getting you out of a drug test in case you are told to come in and take one. So that's the way Hidalgo County's prosecution works. 6 months probation with a public defender, 3 months if you go with a private attorney, and 2 months without drug test if your property is stolen by a member of law enforcement while you are under arrest. Something else that really gets me upset, a friend of mine was arrested for having a grinder that didn't have any weed in it, but he was charged with possession. He gets to court, the judge dismisses the charges and apologizes for it. But because of the way federal law is currently structured, just being charged with having a drug in your possession is enough for the FBI to deny you the right to purchase a weapon for 1 year. I had a friend who this happened to. The judge dismissed it and apologized for it. That was in 2017. More than a year passes. He tries to go and purchase a weapon.